Session of the Senate in the third regular session of the 18th Congress is hereby called to order. Senator Ralph G. Recto will lead the chamber in prayer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Gracious God, we implore your presence as we come together in what could be a pivotal moment in the history of this generation. We are in the midst of a health and economic crisis which has immensely affected our lives. People are sick or have died. Businesses have closed or are suffering severe losses. Jobs and personal incomes have been lost. Our people are suffering immensely. They are uncertain, fearful, and helpless. Merciful God, with bowed heads, we ask for strength, seek your guidance, and pray for healing, blessings, and a miracle for our people and for our great nation. We are grateful for your direction that led us to pass tax reforms that not only provided more resources in the hands of our entrepreneurs, but also created more fiscal space for increased funds for critical programs and projects to address the pandemic, as well as to hasten the building and economic recovery. Lord, this week we start deliberations on the annual budget measure. We invite you to please inspire our discussions with your benevolence and compassion, so that with open hearts and minds we may craft a budget that truly reflects the needs of our people. Dear God, as we exercise our oversight functions in the implementation of Bayanihan 1 and 2, which we passed expeditiously, may we have guidance and strength as we ferret out the truth without fear and favor. Allow us to listen closely and recognize what is true, fair, and just, and in the end, offer remedial legislative intervention. Loving God, grant us with the gift of reason and understanding and of tolerance and generosity, that we may serve our country with more dedication and magnanimity. Amen.
Amen. Secretary, please call the roll.
Roll call members. The Honorable Senator Angara.
Present.
Senator Binay.
Present.
Senator Cayetano.
Present.
Senator De Lima. Senator De La Rosa. Senator Drilon.
Present.
Senator Gatchalian.
Present.
Senator Go.
Present.
Senator Gordon.
Present.
Senator Ontiveros.
Present.
Senator Lacson. Senator Lapid. Senator Marcos.
Present.
Senator Pacquiao.
Present.
Senator Pangilinan.
Here, present.
Senator Pimentel III.
Present.
Senator Poe.
Present.
Senator Recto.
Present.
Senator Revilla Jr.
Present.
Senator Tolentino. Senator Villanueva.
Present.
Senator Villar.
Present.
Senator Zubiri.
Present.
Senate President Soto III is present.
With 5 senators physically present and 17 senators virtually present for a total of 22, the chair declares the presence of a quorum. Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that we dispense with the reading of the Journal of the 11th session, Monday, September 6, 2021, and consider the same as approved.
Any objection? Chair hears none. The journal is approved.
President, I move to proceed with the reference of business.
Secretary will proceed with the reference of business.
Reference of business. Bills on first reading. Senate number 2381, an act creating a vaccine passport program, amending for this purpose Republic Act number 11525, otherwise known as the COVID-19 Vaccination Program Act of 2021, and providing funds therefore, introduced by Senators Cayetano, Drilon, and Angara.
Referred to the Committees on Finance and Health.
Senate number 2382, an act declaring the city of San Pablo, province of Laguna, an ecotourism destination to be known as the City of Seven Lakes, and appropriating funds therefore, introduced by Senator Marcos.
Referred to the Committees on Tourism, Public Works, and Finance.
Senate number 2383, an act converting the Don Jose S. Monfort Medical Center Extension Hospital, the municipality of Barotac Nuevo, Province of Iloilo, into a tertiary hospital to be known as the Don Jose S. Monfort Medical Center and appropriating funds therefore, introduced by Senator Marcos.
to the Committees on Health and Finance,
Senate number 2384, an act establishing in the city of Tagaytay, province of Cavite, a general hospital to be known as the Isaac Tolentino Memorial Medical Center and appropriating funds therefore, introduced by Senator Marcos.
to the Committees on Health and Finance,
Senate number 2385, an act creating the Abra River Basin Development Authority, prescribing its powers and functions and appropriating funds therefore, introduced by Senator Marcos.
to the Committees on Government Corporations, Ways and Means, and Finance,
Senate number 2386, an act renaming the Urdaneta City Bypass Road in the city of Urdaneta, Pangasinan to Eduardo Cojuangco Jr. Avenue, introduced by Senator Soto III.
to the Committee on Rules,
Senate number 2387, an act institutionalizing the Lifelong Learning Development Framework, broadening the mandate of the Philippine Qualifications Framework National Coordinating Council, amending for the purpose Republic Act number 10968, otherwise known as the Philippine Qualifications Framework Act, and appropriating funds therefore, introduced by Senator Villanueva.
to the Committees on Higher Education and Finance,
Senate number 2388, an act abolishing the Department of Budget and Management Procurement Service, DBMPS, and for other purposes, introduced by Senator Marcos.
to the Committees on Finance and Civil Service,
Senate number 2389, an act abolishing the Philippine International Trading Corporation, PITC, and for other purposes, introduced by Senator Marcos.
to the Committees on Trade, Civil Service, and Finance,
Senate number 2390, an act converting the Quezon Medical Center in the city of Lucena, province of Quezon, into a tertiary level hospital and regional training center and appropriating funds therefore, introduced by Senator Angara.
to the Committees on Health and Finance,
Resolutions. PS Resolution number 891, resolution directing the appropriate Senate committee to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation into possible undue influence of foreign entities and companies into the National Broadband Plan, introduced by Senator Marcos.
to the Committees on Science and Public Services,
PS Resolution number 892, resolution expressing the profound sympathy and sincere condolences of the Senate on the death of Philippine Sports Hall of Famer Leopoldo Cervantes, introduced by Senator Villanueva.
to the Committee on Rules,
PS Resolution number 893, resolution directing the appropriate Senate committee to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation on the 154.212 million peso payout to the Philippine Charity Sweepstakes Office, PCSO, to the People's Television Network, Inc., PTNI, without an accompanying MOA, with the end in view of improving transparency and accountability in all government transactions, introduced by Senator De Lima.
to the Committee on Accountability of Public Officers,
PS Resolution number 894, resolution urging the Department of Social Welfare and Development, DSWD, to consider accommodating additional qualified household beneficiaries in the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program 4Ps and to suspend the graduation of existing household beneficiaries from the program in view of the grave impact of the COVID-19 pandemic to poor families across the country, introduced by Senator De Lima.
to the Committees on Social Justice and Finance,
PS Resolution number 895, resolution directing the appropriate Senate committee to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation on the non-payment of Special Risk Allowance, SRA, and other benefits to healthcare workers with the end in view of identifying measures necessary to expedite the system for disbursing the SRA and other benefits to which healthcare workers are entitled to receive as mandated by law, introduced by Senator De Lima.
to the Blue Ribbon Committee,
PS Resolution number 896, resolution commending the Filipino Paralympians who represented the Philippines in the Tokyo 2020 Paralympic Games for their unwavering performance and dedication in their field of para sports, introduced by Senator Pacquiao.
to the Committee on Rules,
PS Resolution number 897, resolution congratulating and commending the Framework Collaborative for winning the country's first ever award at the Venice Architecture Biennale, introduced by Senator Binay.
to the Committee on Rules,
PS Resolution number 898, resolution to express the sense of the Senate that the President should show courtesy to a co-equal institution and urge the President to refrain from making statements intended to diminish the respect due to the Senate or any of its members, introduced by Senator De Lima.
to the Committee on Rules,
PS Resolution to number 899, resolution honoring and commending the Metrobank Foundation Outstanding Filipinos of 2021, introduced by Senator Angara.
to the Committee on Rules. Majority Leader,
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, if Senator Gatchalian is ready, I move that we resume consideration of Senate Bill number 1928 under Committee Report number 145. So,
any objection? Hearing none, consideration is in order.
We recognize our distinguished colleague, Senator Gatchalian, if there are any more amendments.
All right. What is the parliamentary status of the measure, Mr.
We
Majority Leader?
closed the period of amendments to come up with a clean copy, Mr. President. We just want to ask if it is satisfactory, the clean copy, and if not, if yes, then we can proceed to vote on second reading.
All right.
So I'd like to ask our colleague, Senator Gatchalian. He's not answering my text messages, Mr. President.
Mr. President, sorry, Majority Floor, I think my phone was on silent, but yes, Mr. President, there are no more amendments, and the clean copy is what we have amended yesterday. Thank you,
All
Mr.
right. With that, Mr. President, I move to approve on second reading Senate Bill number 1928. So moved.
Any objection? Hearing none. Senate Bill 1928 is approved on second reading.
Very much, and congratulations to the sponsor. Mr. President, I move to resume, I'm sorry, Mr. President, we're going to take up sponsorship measures,
Uh-huh.
sponsorship of measures. So I move to transfer from the calendar of ordinary business to special order, Senate Bill number 2364. So moved.
Any objection? Hearing none. Consideration of 2364 is in order.
Thank you
Oh,
very much,
sorry,
Mr. President.
For transfer or for?
For transfer.
Okay, the motion is to transfer. So transferred.
I move to consider Senate Bill number 2364 and ask the Secretary to read the title.
Consideration is in order. The Secretary will read the title of the measure.
Senate Bill number 2364, an act recognizing CCF Life Academy Foundation, Inc. as an educational institution of international character, granting certain prerogatives to hasten its growth as such and for other purposes.
May we recognize to sponsor the measure no other than Senator Sherwin T. Gatchalian.
Senator Chairman Gatchalian is recognized to sponsor the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Majority Floor. Mr. President, esteemed peers, the legislation I am sponsoring today seeks to establish the CCF Life Academy International Incorporated as an educational institution of international character under Philippine law. CCF Life Academy International, Inc. was founded in 2013 to provide transformative education to help build holistically developed Christian-like influencers, driven by the core values of love, integrity, faith, and excellence. The CCF Life Academy strives to foster academic excellence, Christian character, and servant leadership among its students. The school's non-conventional, research-based, pedagogical approach also aims to develop internationally minded individuals who, despite the differences in culture and nationalities, recognize their common humanity and shared guardianship of the planet to help create a better, more peaceful world. As of school year 2020-2021, the student body is composed of 603 students enrolled at the preschool, elementary, junior, and senior high school levels. 13% are foreign students hailing from 6 different countries. CCF Life Academy is accredited not only by the Department of Education, but also by the Association of Christian Schools International. It is also recognized by Christian international organizations from the United States, Singapore, and other countries. 8 years into its existence, CCF Life Academy is applying for a legislative charter to elevate its status to that of an educational institution of international character. Section 45 of the 2010 DepEd Revised Manual of Regulations for Private Schools in Basic Education defines a foreign or international school as one established for foreign diplomatic personnel and their dependents and, unless otherwise provided by law, for other foreign temporary residents. This restrictive definition appears to be largely influenced by the long history of the international school sector in the Philippines, dating back as early as 1924, wherein Philippine international schools mostly catered to the children of non-resident Westerners stationed in the Philippines for work. However, CCF Life Academy's vision for its international education programs is more inclusive than the Section 45 definition. For one, the school wishes to cater to the growing market of internationally minded Filipino families who wish to provide their children with a world-class education that meets the highest standards of global scholarship and responsible Christian leadership. CCF Life Academy also aims to lead a new wave of Philippine international education that will establish our country as a regional hub for education that will attract foreign students from across the world, similar to Singapore. Therefore, CCF Life Academy is applying for a legislative charter, which will provide a higher degree of academic freedom and autonomy as non-conventional international school. Specifically, this legislation would allow CCF Life Academy greater flexibility to incorporate international concepts and programs into its curriculum. The school will be able to offer an international baccalaureate or IB degree to its graduates, the gold standard for pre-college international education. CCF Life Academy graduates armed with IB degrees will be highly competitive among their peers when applying to local and foreign universities. The school will also be authorized to implement a more diverse catalog of history, culture, and language courses in line with its international orientation. Additionally, CCF Life Academy will be able to recruit more foreign faculty, especially for IB subjects, which foreign hires may be more qualified and competent to teach. The school will also be able to recruit more foreign students to diversify and further internationalize its student body. Overall, the rights granted to CCF Life Academy under this bill are similar to those granted to the following schools by legislative charter: British School, Manila, via Republic Act number 11218, Faith Academy under Republic Act number 11237, and Everest Academy under Republic Act number 11255. Although CCF Life Academy will be granted greater autonomy under this charter, it will be still subject to reasonable regulation under applicable Philippine laws. For one, the school's curriculum and operation shall continue to be supervised by the DepEd. We trust that the Department of Education will hold the school to the highest standards of accountability, integrity, and academic excellence, while providing the necessary flexibility for school administration to implement its vision of world-class international Christian school. The school will also be required to follow the rule providing no alien nationality shall compose more than 30% of the student population. Qualified Filipino teaching and management hires shall also be prioritized over foreign candidates. Mr. President, I'm a proud product of a Christian school. I can say with certainty that I would not be the man and public servant I am today without my Grace Christian education. As such, I fully support the ideals of Christian academic and leadership excellence espoused by the CCF Life Academy. Moreover, as an advocate of Philippine education reform and excellence, I am supportive of the CCF Life Academy's administration's vision to establish the Philippines as a regional education hub, transforming the Philippines into an international center of excellence for education has potential to substantially benefit our education system, our economy, and our society. I commend the CCF Life Academy International for taking a step forward in achieving this ambitious program of education. In line with the foregoing, Mr. President, I join my fellow sponsors of the measure, Senator Joel Villanueva and Senate President Vicente Soto III, in advocating for the approval of this legislation. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Joel Villanueva is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, I am honored today to co-sponsor along with our hardworking chairman of the Committee on Basic Education, Senator Win Gatchalian, and the Senate President himself, Senator Tito Soto, a bill that seeks to recognize the CCF Life Academy Foundation as an educational institution of an international character. Just like our good chairman, Senator Gatchalian, I am also a proud product of a Christian school. And like many of you, Mr. President, we advocate for the kind of education that would genuinely make the Filipino globally competitive. And there is no better way to attain that but to empower our schools to meet the standards comparable, if not equivalent, to those of Ivy League schools, not only in Asia, but in the whole world. The primary purpose of Senate Bill number 2364 under Committee Report number 286 is to grant CCF, Life Academy Foundation Incorporated, international recognition. But we also want to give the Filipinos options to avail high-quality educational programs such as the International Baccalaureate or IB and earn a globally recognized diploma in senior high school. While the current DepEd Department Order number 88 series of 2010 or the revised manual of regulations for private schools in basic education allows uh, for the establishment of a foreign or international school, the present legislation will broaden the clientele of the CCF Life Academy beyond the dependence of foreign diplomatic officers. After all, Mr. President, Article 14 of the 1987 Constitution provides for the establishment of international schools, provided that they are not established exclusively for foreigners and no group of other nationalities shall comprise more than one-third of the enrollment in any school. If we can attract the best and the brightest students from other countries and mix them with Filipino students, we can not only facilitate integration and at the same time also provide an opportunity of cross-cultural learning. In the process, Mr. President, we can also expose our local teachers to international teaching practices that utilize the latest methodologies, techniques, and technologies, Mr. President. While the bill does not prohibit hiring personnel of other nationalities, this measure prioritizes hiring qualified Filipino teachers, which I believe we have in abundance. Mr. President, it is not only a perception, but a reality that international schools offer what we envision for a modern and progressive 21st century school. One that uses pedagogy which is both student-centered and developmentally appropriate. The bill provides that in case of the CCF, its curriculum, medium of instruction, and teaching of appropriate languages must be subject to consultation with the Secretary of Education. While the leadership of Pastor Dr. Peter Tanchi, with the leadership of Pastor Peter, the more or less and the more or less 700 students of the CCF Life Academy International can find educational success while simultaneously making a difference in the world. So, Mr. President, in an era that compels Filipinos and other migrant students around the world to become globally competitive individuals, yet they often find themselves anxious because of the pandemic and other factors. The CCF Life Academy can offer an international education embedded in a spiritual ground while at the same time putting a premium on real-world responsibilities. As we formally begin celebrating National Teachers Month today, Mr. President, may we be reminded of the importance of passing legislative measures such as this bill to empower Philippine schools with which the COVID pandemic continuously besieged. Again, thank you very much, Mr. President, and may God bless us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Villanueva. The Majority Leader?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. May we recognize Senator, our dear friend from Sarangani, Senator Manny Pacquiao.
Senator Manny Pacquiao is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President and Majority Leader. If the sponsor of the bill allow me to be co-sponsor of the bill, Mr. President.
Definitely, Mr. President, it will be an honor for the national champion to be part of this measure, Mr. President.
World champion, Mr. President, world champion.
Also devoted Christian, Mr. President. Let's put
Yeah.
that on record.
World champion na po siya, hindi lang national champion.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yeah, Mr. President, if the sponsor will allow me also to be a co-sponsor, I've known Pastor Tanchi as a very honorable man, and I'd love to be associated with this measure as well, if it's okay with the sponsors.
Definitely, for our national champion.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, moving forward, we'll allow our colleagues to study the measure further. Move to suspend consideration of the measure.
Any objection? Hearing none, consideration is suspended.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that we transfer from the calendar of ordinary business to special order, House Bill number 5644. So moved.
Any objection? Hearing none, so transferred.
May I just request the sponsor, there are several measures here as heritage zones. Will you be delivering this, Mr. President, as a omnibus speech?
Mr.
Or which
President, there are
measures?
two heritage zones here, and I will just deliver an omnibus speech for the two zones.
So this is the number 2 and number 3 on our agenda.
Yes, Mr.
That's
President.
correct. So
correct.
with the permission of the minority floor leader and the permission, of course, of the body, I move that we transfer from the calendar of ordinary business to special order as well, House Bill number 7927.
All right, any objection? So transferred.
Mr. President, I move that we consider House Bill number 5644 and 7927 and ask the Secretary to read the title of the two measures.
The Secretary will read the titles of the two measures.
House Bill number 5644, an act declaring the city of Karkar in the province of Cebu a cultural heritage zone. And House Bill number 7927, an act establishing a heritage zone within the municipality of San Vicente, province of Ilocos Sur.
Majority Leader.
Thank you very much. May we recognize the sponsor, the chairman of the committee on basic education, other than Senator Sherwin T. Gatchalian, to sponsor these two measures.
Senator Sherwin Gatchalian is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Majority Floor. Mr. President, once again, good afternoon. The preservation of our history, heritage, and culture is the aim of the measures I'm honored to sponsor today, namely House Bill number 5644, taking into consideration Senate Bill number 2115 and House Bill number 7927 under Committee Report number 266 and 267 respectively. The House Bill number 5644 seeks to declare the city of Karkar in the province of Cebu as a heritage zone, while House Bill number 7927 seeks to establish a heritage zone within the municipality of San Vicente in Ilocos Sur. Under these proposed measures, the declaration and establishment of heritage zones are in accordance with Republic Act number 10066 or the National Cultural Heritage Act of 2009. Mr. President, let me go over the cultural landmarks and historical sites that we will be preserving through the passage of these measures. The city of Karkar, known as the Heritage City of Cebu, is home to vintage houses and old school buildings that showcase the architecture of the Spanish and American periods. One of the most famous houses there is the Balay Natisa or the Sarmiento Osmeña House, which was declared a heritage house by the National Historical Institute on September 4, 2009. At the heart of the city is the Church of St. Catherine of Alexandria, which is said to reflect the unusual styles of the neo-mudéjar of the revival Baroque of the 19th century. When the city of Karkar becomes a heritage zone, it will receive priority development from the Department of Tourism in coordination with the provincial government of Cebu, the city government of Karkar, and the National Commission for Culture and the Arts, and its affiliated cultural agencies and other concerned government agencies. To enhance and foster sustainability of tourism in the city, the same government agencies and offices, including the Department of Natural Resources, will also be tasked to prepare the development plan involving the preservation, conservation, restoration, and maintenance of cultural and historical sites and structures. Next, we have the municipality of San Vicente, Ilocos Sur, which is home to structures that gave us a glimpse of life during the Spanish colonial period. These include the old San Vicente Church, an example of Baroque architecture, the Palacio del Gobernador, which is one of the town's finest architecture that became a vacation house of Vigan's Gobernador, the Gabaldon building of the American occupation, the first San Vicente School, and the Spanish Baldi, a structure consisting of a well and compartment that used to collect the fermented solution of indigo, which is carried all the way in the galleon to Mexico. Under the House Bill number 7927, the Heritage Zone, we are proposing to create in San Vicente seeks to include cultural properties declared as national cultural treasures, and important cultural properties, as well as national historical landmarks, shrines, monuments, and sites, and other immovable, movable, or intangible cultural properties, whether publicly or privately owned. These will be designated by the NCCA and its affiliated cultural agencies in coordination with the municipality of San Vicente and other government agencies and entities. To enhance and promote the sustainability of tourism, the DOT shall coordinate with the municipality of San Vicente Ilocos Sur, the NCCA, and its affiliated cultural agencies in preparing the development plan on the preservation, conservation, restoration, and maintenance of the cultural and historical sites and structures. When this bill becomes law, the municipality of San Vicente will pass a municipal ordinance within a year, to operationalize the management of the heritage zone, which should also be consistent with the municipal development plan and the National Cultural Heritage Act of 2009. This ordinance should also establish the metes and bounds of the established heritage zone pursuant to this proposed measure. On the other hand, the NCCA and affiliated cultural agencies, as well as the DOT and its attached agencies, will be mandated to provide priority development, attention, assistance, and funding to the heritage zone. As we consider these proposed measures, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, it is worth noting that this year marks the quintessential commemorations in the Philippines, which included the 500th anniversaries of the victory at Mactan, the Philippine part in the first circumnavigation of the world, and the arrival of Christianity in our country. I strongly believe, Mr. President, that in view of this commemorations, the passage of these proposed measures is both fitting and timely tribute to the rich heritage and long history of both the city of Karkar and the municipality of Vigan. I also believe that the passage of these bills would institutionalize and strengthen mechanisms not only to honor and preserve our patrimony, but also to boost and restore vitality in the tourism sector as we recover from the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. In view of the foregoing, Mr. President, I seek this August body's support for the immediate passage of this measure. Thank you, Mr. President and colleagues.
All right, my family coming from Cebu, will the presiding officer please be made a co-sponsor of House Bill 5644? All right,
Definitely, Mr. President.
thank
Yes,
you. Majority Leader?
And myself as well, Mr. President, with the permission of our colleague, for the two measures, local measures.
All right.
Thank you. So, Mr. President, I move to allow our colleagues to study the measure further, move to suspend consideration.
Any objection? Hearing none, consideration of the measure suspended.
May I request the good sponsor as well, if there are other omnibus speeches so that we can call the measures together? for
Yes,
these
Mr.
local
Pre-
measures?
Yes, Mr. President, there are three more local bills. One establishing a national high school.
So for the national high schools, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, so that's number 4, 5, and 6.
Yes, but Mr. President, these are different.
Bye-bye.
Yes, okay,
different
okay, Papo.
accounts.
So these are one by one, Mr. President.
Yes,
Should be
Mr.
tackled one by one. Okay. Mr. President, move to transfer of the Gano ordinary business to special order, House Bill number 8996.
Any objection? Hearing none, consideration, so transferred.
Mr. President, I move that we consider House Bill 8996 as Secretary to read the title of the measure.
Hearing no objection, the Secretary will read the title of the measure.
House Bill number 8996, an act establishing a national high school in Barangay Lacaron, Municipality of Malita, Province of Davao Occidental, to be known as Lacaron National High School and appropriating funds therefore.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Move that we recognize the sponsor for his very brief, maybe he can make a very short sponsorship of this local.
Yes, Mr. President, this will be very brief.
Senator Gatchalian, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Majority Floor. The measure I'm sponsoring today, House Bill number 8996, seeks to bring educational opportunities closer to our kabayans in the province of Davao Occidental through the establishment of a national high school in Barangay Lacaron, Municipality of Malita. The proposed measure before us seeks to establish and rename the Fishing Village Comprehensive National High School Lacaron Extension into a new school, the Lacaron National High School. In 2019, the Department of Education in Davao Region approved the establishment of the Lacaron National High School, pursuant to DepEd Order Number 40, Series of 2014, entitled Establishment, Merging, Conversion, and Naming, Renaming of Public Schools and Separation of Public School Annexes in Basic Education. The school opened in school year 2012 to 2013 and currently caters to learners in grade 7 to 10. For school year 2017 and 18, the total student population is 125 with one section per grade level. It has a teaching force of 5 regular permanent teachers, including a teacher in charge. One of the main reasons why we want to make Lacaron National High School independent is to ensure the accessibility of secondary education. The main campus of the Fishing Village Comprehensive National High School is 6 kilometers away from the Poblacion or town center, which can be reached through a motorcycle, habal-habal, bus, or tricycle. For a town where majority of the residents make a living through farming, fishing, livestock raising, and backyard gardening, parents send their children to school are burdened by the cost of transportation. This prevents them from providing their children with the essentials to continue their education. For learners, 6 kilometers of going to school, sometimes through walking, and another 6 kilometers to go back home deter them from continuing their studies. For school year 2020-21, there are 145 learners from grade 7 to 10 enrolled in the school. This is projected to rise to 152 for school year 2021-2022. For school year 2022-2023, enrollment in the school is projected to reach 160. Considering this expected increase in student population, the independence of Lacaron National High School becomes crucial, not only to assure funding under the General Appropriations Act for sustainability in operations. It becomes equally crucial to ensure that the school has independence in utilizing its resources to deliver accessible and quality education to a growing student population. We can achieve this by establishing the Lacaron National High School through a law that will enforce the school's earlier administrative establishment by the Department of Education. Let me emphasize, Mr. President, that the establishment of the school through legislation will spare learners and their families from transportation woes. Since Barangay Lacaron is strategically located in the middle of Malita, the accessibility of Lacaron National High School will be an advantage in offering basic education services to learners of at least 5 other barangays. Since the school will be funded under the General Appropriations Act, resources will be assured for the hiring of personnel. Additional facilities will also be installed to enhance the learning process for our learners. Would I like to also inform this body that DepEd has certified that the schools division of the province of Davao Occidental has fully satisfied the requirements as provided under DepEd Order Number 40, Series of 2014. Foremost of which is the support of the local government. Ginong Pangulo, sa pagtataguyod ng new normal sa bayan ng Malita, Davao Occidental, agad natin makita ang ligtas na pagbabalik eskwela ng mga mag-aaral. Kung ang ating mga mag-aaral ay dating naglalakbay sa mahaba at mga mapanganib na daan, ating pagsikapan na ilapit ang paaralan sa kanila upang matiyak ang kanilang kaligtasan at maipagpatuloy nila ang kanilang edukasyon. Kung ang pagpasok ng isang mag-aaral mula sa bayan ng Malita ay isang pasanin para sa kanilang pamilya, ating pagsikapan na ihatid sa kanila ang ginhawa at panatag na kalooban sa ating pag-abot ng mas magandang kinabukasan. In view of the foregoing, I seek our honorable peer support for the passage of this measure. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Akala ko
Okay.
maikli lang, medyo mahaba pala yun.
Ano, if that is the short, what is the long?
I know, Mr. President. There are several local bills, so nininervyos ako, maabutin tayo ng alas 8 dito, Mr. President. Maybe we can just request the sponsors, since these are local bills naman, just abbreviate na lang the sponsorship with the permission of the sponsor so we can move faster. Mr. President, I move that we suspend consideration of the same.
Hearing no objection, consideration suspended.
Mr. President, I move that we transfer the calendar ordinary business to special order, House Bill number 8814. So moved.
Any objection? Hearing none, so transferred.
Mr. President, I move that we consider House Bill number 8814 and read it, ask the Secretary to read the title of the measure.
Secretary will read the title of the measure.
House Bill number 8814, an act converting the Villa Elementary School in Barangay Villa, Municipality of Esperanza, Province of Masbate, into an integrated school to be known as the Villa Integrated School and appropriating funds therefore.
Thank you, Mr. President. We recognize once again the sponsor, Senator Gatchalian.
Senator Gatchalian is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am going to abbreviate this speech, Mr. President, and I can see the majority floor clapping ng gusto ko pag pumapalakpak po siya. Mr. President, Mr. President, this bill, House Bill number 8814, a measure that will expand access to learning opportunities for our constituents in the province of Masbate, specifically in Barangay Villa, Municipality of Esperanza. Under this measure, Mr. President, we seek to we seek the conversion of Villa Elementary School to an integrated school, Mr. President. And Mr. President, I'd like to also inform the body that the Department of Education has certified that the schools division of the province of Masbate has fully satisfied the department's requirements under Department Order number 40, series of 2014. So, Mr. President, all the requirements have been fulfilled under this department order, and in view of the compliance, Mr. President, we seek the support of the passage of this measure, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. To allow our colleagues to study the measure further, move to suspend consideration.
Hearing no objection, consideration suspended.
Mr. President, move to yes.
Yeah, Mr. President, allow me to just insert the long version of this
Yes.
sponsorship speech, Mr. President.
Yes, Mr.
Okay,
President.
so inserted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, move that we transfer from the calendar ordinary business to special order House Bill number 8384. So moved, Mr. President.
Any objections? Hearing none, transferred.
Mr. President, move to consider House Bill number 8384 and ask Secretary to read the title of the measure.
Secretary will read the title of the measure.
House Bill number 8384, an act establishing the Bohol First Congressional District Library in the Municipality of Baliligan, Province of Bohol, and appropriating funds therefore.
May we recognize once again the sponsor, Mr. President, Senator Sherman T. Gatchalian.
Senator Gatchalian is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, this bill seeks to establish the Bohol First Congressional District Library in the Municipality of Baliligan, Province of Bohol. And this library already exists, and it's currently known as the Baliligan Congressional Library. It is one of the 5 congressional libraries in the country today and is constructed beside the campus of Bohol's Island State University. When it was established by the local government of Bohol in 2008 under Republic Act number 7743, the library sought to make books and other reading materials available and accessible to street children and out-of-school youth. As a public and academic library, its clientele includes students from preschools, elementary, and secondary schools, as well as graduates, professionals, retirees, and persons with disabilities. To date, the library has over 11,000 books and references for varying levels and fields of study. It also has e-libraries and provides internet access to users. The library has served over 140,000 clients, most of whom are the district students, teachers, and researchers from primary, secondary, and tertiary level institutions in the districts. Aside from providing quality reference materials, the library also hosts meetings for Bohol's librarians and serves as a venue for varying training programs. So, Mr. President, again, this bill seeks to establish the Bohol's first congressional district in the municipality of Baliligan, and this library plays a very important role in that congressional district by providing not only providing books but also providing venue and a place of study for students and youth alike. So again, Mr. President, I would like to seek the support of the August body for this measure.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. May we suspend consideration to allow our colleagues to study all these measures.
Any objection? Hearing none, consideration is suspended.
Mr. President, I would like to also insert the long version of the speech. Thank you, Mr. President.
Inserted.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And moving forward, I know we had already sponsored this, but Senator Bato de la Rosa would like to be a co-sponsor and also deliver his co-sponsorship speech. I move that we resume consideration of Senate Bill number 2369. So,
Any objection? Hearing none. Order. Motion.
thank you very much, Mr. President. We recognize Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa to deliver his co-sponsorship speech.
Senator Ronald De La Rosa is recognized to co-sponsor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Majority Leader. Good afternoon, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues. Mr. President, from the data released by the Philippine Overseas Employment Administration, it is appalling that the number of Filipino seafarers that is deployed overseas plunges to 54% in 2020, which is equivalent to 217,223 in comparison to 469,996 in 2019. Furthermore, the Maritime Industry Authority, or Marina, reported that there is also a 48% decline in the deployment of officers on international vessels, corresponding to the 50,277 in 2022 and 97,400 in 2019. Same is true with the number of lower ranks, which is indicated to have dropped to 44%, or 93,618 compared to 166,401 in 2019. Similarly, there is as well a 64% fall in the number of deployed staff in the non-maritime sector, such as hotel staff for cruise ship and other passenger vessels. Only 73,328 were employed in 2020, compared to 206,195 before the pandemic strikes. Mr. President, it is for this reason that I stand this afternoon in support and honor to our Filipino seafarers who are employed or is waiting to be employed, as I co-sponsor Senate Bill number 2369 under Committee Report number 289, or the Magna Carta of Filipino seafarers. Mr. President, like all other sectors and industries, this is a very unfortunate time for all our seafarers because of the effect of the imposition of strict lockdowns and border closures to international and domestic travel brought about by the COVID-19 virus. Mr. President, indeed, that there is no better time to enact the Magna Carta of Filipino seafarers but now. I would like to commend our very hardworking chairman, the Committee on Labor and Employment, Senator Joel Villanueva, for doing an excellent job in advancing the welfare of our workers here and abroad. Mr. President, I am one in recognizing the important role of seafarers in the global trade and economy. Unknown to many, according to the International Maritime Organization, about 90% of the world's food, fuel, raw materials, and manufactured goods are dispatched and transmitted by sea. Seafarers perform one of the most challenging jobs of running gigantic cargo vessels and cruise ships and sailing the wild and turbulent waters. It is high time they get the respect and importance that they deserve by enacting this legislation that will protect their welfare and promote their rights. Mr. President, sa pamamagitan ng panukalang batas na ito, magkakaroon ng konkretong proteksyon para sa mga Pilipinong seafarers na nasaan mang karagatan sa mundo. As we fulfill our commitment under international conventions, specifically the Maritime Labor Convention 2006, Our seafarers are safeguarded with all the basic rights to just terms and conditions of work, right to self-organization and engage in collective bargaining, right to educational advancement and training, right to information, right to safe passage and safe travel, right to consultation, right against discrimination, right to be protected against all forms of harassment and bullying, right to free legal representation, right to access communication, right to record of employment and certificate of employment, and right to fair treatment in the event of a maritime accident. Batid natin ang dami ng problema ng ating mga kababayang mandaragat. Ang aking opisina ay saksi sa mga problemang ito. Sa dami ng aming natatanggap na mga sulat na nanghihingi ng iba't ibang klase ng tulong. Nitong panahon ng pandemya, nagkaroon tayo ng pagkakataon na tumulong sa 75 na Filipino seafarers lula ng MV Horizon Pullmantur Cruceros na naladaong sa Port Al Rasid Terminal 2, Dubai. Ang ilan sa mga seafarers na ito ay nagpositibo sa COVID-19 virus habang nasa loob ng barko. Humingi sila ng tulong dahil sa kanilang nakapanlulumong sitwasyon at kulang ng medikasyon habang nasa loob ng barko. Ang ilan sa mga ito ay natulungan nating mag-repatriate pabalik sa ating bansa. This particular problem, Mr. President, is one of the many which the proposed measure seeks to address. Specifically, Section 41 of the bill provides for the protection of seafarers from epidemics, pandemics, and other public health emergencies. In particular, seafarers are entitled to have access to prompt medical care as well as access to medical facilities on shore and medical advice on physical and mental health. In addition, Section 50 thereof specifically stipulates the provision of quarantine and medical expenses before or during repatriation because of infection, epidemics, and pandemics. Mr. President, alam kong mahirap tugunan lahat ng kinakaharap na problema ng ating mga seafarers. Ngunit ang panukalang batas na ito ay isang malaking hakbang para sa katuparan na mabigyan ng mas maayos na buhay habang sila ay nagtatrabaho para sa kanilang mga pamilya. As we are coming closer in passing this proposed measure, I hope that our kababayans are pleased to know that the government stands with them wherever they may be. Maraming salamat po, Mr. President.
Thank you. Senator Tolentino, sir.
Mr. President, just a manifestation. I am associating myself, this representation is associating himself with the co-sponsorship speech made by Senator De La Rosa and underscoring the fact, Mr. President, and probably it was just an omission, that the right to vote of our overseas seafarers, overseas workers, should be strengthened, Mr. President. Especially now, because of the pandemic, our Commission on Elections has yet to establish a more technological method of allowing our seafarers to vote. And there are millions of them, Mr. President. And I associate myself with the bill filed by Senator Villanueva, co-sponsored by Senator De La Rosa. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. May we move to suspend consideration of the measure to allow our colleagues to stand.
Hearing no objection, consideration is suspended.
Moving forward, Mr. President, we have some measures for amendments, period of amendments. I move that if Senator Grace Poe, she's there. Yes, thank you. Move to resume consideration of Senate Bill number 2094 under Committee Report 191. So moved.
Any objection? Hearing none. Consideration of 2094 is in order.
The parliamentary statuses were in the period of amendments. I believe the chairperson of the committee, Senator Grace Poe, has some committee additional amendments, so may we recognize the chairperson, Mr. President.
Senator Grace was recognized parliamentary status, still in the period of amendments.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, allow me to read into the record the individual amendments of our colleagues, which my co-sponsor and I have accepted. Our co-sponsor being the Minority Leader, Franklin Relon, Senators Angara, Binay, Gatchalian, Gordon, Lacson, Tolentino, Villanueva, my co-sponsor, Minority Floor Leader Drilon, and I hereby propose the following amendments of Senate Bill number 2094 under Committee Report number 191, which we shall tackle in the order that they are found in the bill, page by page and section by section. On page 1, line 1, on page 1, line 2, between the words as and the, insert the words one off, then add an S to the word engine. This was proposed by Senator Villanueva. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, adopted.
Uh, just an inquiry, Mr. President, do I have to read what the section will read as?
No, that's not necessary.
Okay.
We have a
On page, on page 2, line 1, after the word any.
Mr. President, point of order.
Senator
Parliamentary-
Recto is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, are we discussing the Public Service Act?
Yes,
And are these individual amendments or committee amendments
individual amendments
of senators or of the chairman?
Of the senators.
of the senators.
Okay. How do I proceed following? Because I do have proposed amendments, but I think my staff discussed with the staff of Senator Grace po that we will be proposing our own individual amendments by tomorrow because we do have technical difficulties at this time, no? But we prepared all the individual amendments.
Mr.
So,
President,
yes, what would
with the
be
permission of,
procedure?
with the
Yes.
permission of Senator Recto, what we can do is we can do the individual amendments now of the other senators, produce a clean copy, and then present it again to Senator Ralph for his individual amendments. Would that be acceptable to Senator Ralph?
Because that would be additional work. I'll have to read the bill all over again and
Okay.
propose the
So
amendments.
would you want to
Wait,
just do it tomorrow? We can
Are
do it
you
for
are you
tomorrow.
ready with your amendments now, Senator Recto?
I do have, but I don't have. I'm in Lipa under quarantine, no, and we do have some technical difficulties here. But we've done all the amendments based on the interpolations we did last month, Mr. President, no, and we'd like to propose those amendments. But for orderly proceeding, how do we go about this, Mr. President? Because
Well,
I think there.
Mr.
if you're
President,
ready, oh yes, Senator Poe.
the reason why we proceeded with this, I was in talks with our majority leader. I made it clear that we were waiting for your amendments, but the majority leader said that exactly his proposal. But now I understand that it will be another step for you to have to review if we accept certain amendments today. So I would perhaps the majority, I'm sorry,
Yes,
the
yes,
good
Mr.
senator
President.
would want, we can just take this up on Monday so that it's not rushed and submit it since you're in quarantine and I am also in quarantine here. Would you
Yeah.
like to do that? We'll just schedule it
Yes,
first thing
Mr.
on Monday.
Mr. President, I just wanted to move the bill 1 inch. It's inch per day, not to its finality because I know it's a very difficult and complicated measure. So we just wanted to move it forward just a bit.
Yeah.
And wait
In
for
fact,
Senator Recto.
Mr. President, considering the nature of this bill, similar to, for example, our debates in grade, frankly speaking, I would suggest that we have a caucus on the substantial portions of the bill
Yes.
because there are national security issues involved, as many of our colleagues do know. And maybe it would be best to find out in a caucus what the pleasure of the members of the Senate are insofar as some of the more substantive issues are concerned. No?
We can
But yes, I do have a position and I do have proposed amendments. I was thinking of a faster way of passing the measure if we had a caucus, no? similar to what we did before in Create. But if the body thinks that it is not necessary to have a caucus on this and that we propose amendments individually, I will be ready by Monday, Mr. President, as
Mr.
the
President,
sponsor
may-
has said that she's willing to accept our amendments on
Yes,
Monday.
Mr. President, the reason why I
Right.
said Monday is if the good senator or pro tempore would be able to submit it this week, because we need to be able to make the matrix again to combine them. So if he submits it sometime this week, we will be able to do that. Because if he submits it today, my staff will still have to go through it. So the matrix will be harmonious, if that's okay.
That's fine with me,
Well,
Mr. President, yes.
You both
So-
sound, majority leader.
yes,
Our colleagues, both senators sound like they are not imperative that we do it today.
yes, Mr. President.
Because,
absolutely.
but there are actually two
Tomorrow
ways of doing it.
or Monday.
Yes, as a matter of fact, we can do it page by page now if Senator Recto is ready. But if he's in quarantine in Lipa and prefers that we do it after a caucus, we can even do a caucus tomorrow
Yes,
after the
Mr.
roll
President.
call.
After the roll call, we can suspend because I actually would like to have a caucus, Mr. President, to discuss some priority measures that we took up in the last LEDAC meeting. So if it is possible, Mr. President, with your permission, we can have a caucus after we do the roll call tomorrow.
Yes,
get all
we
the
can do that.
members,
And then
to participate.
perhaps Senator Recto can bring out already the controversial issues.
Yes,
It's an all
Okay.
senator caucus. We can do it after the roll call.
yes.
Um,
Therefore, Mr. President, I move to suspend the consideration of the bill.
all right. Any objection? Hearing none. Consideration of the measure
Um,
is suspended and a caucus is called after the roll call tomorrow, particularly to handle or to take up or to tackle PSA.
Yes, Mr.
Yes,
President.
Mr. President, just
Yes.
I would just like to ask our gentleman from Batangas if after the caucus tomorrow, since he already has the amendments, we can have it by this week so that by Monday, if we agree on certain things, we can already take up the amendments.
Yes.
Yes.
That'll be good.
Okay, that's
Yes.
it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, dear sponsor.
Thank you
All
very much, Mr. President.
And perhaps
there was
also,
yes,
just for Senator Recto to look up already the amendments that are being proposed by the chair also.
yes.
Para mas
So
madali din, baka
There's
sagasa.
no
doon sa mga proposal
redundancy
niya.
or
Yes,
to it.
yes. All right.
Opo. Actually, to our colleague or Senate President Pro Tem, there was no plan of actually na maunahan siya or not to take him up. When my discussions with Senator Grace was really, whatever you have, the minor amendments, di ba, we'll take it up now and then come up with a clean copy and show it to Senator Ralph again. But of course, again, as he said, and he's quite pointed out correctly that it will just do double the work. We can do it
Alright.
page by page. So it's
Just
okay.
suggestion to the staff of Senator Poe that Senator Recto be furnished this, how many pages of proposed amendments so that he knows where the proposed amendments of the chairman are,
Yes.
chairperson, I mean.
Mr. President, our majority leader, Mr. Congeniality, is actually being pressured already from by different groups, especially with what's happening in our country today. So I think he just wanted to accommodate as much as possible everybody's requests once again. So
All
that's
the
all.
chambers have been calling me up. I just said, okay, don't worry. We will be taking it up slowly, but surely and carefully. But yes, no, we made a commitment to Senator Ralph, Mr. President, and of course to our chairperson. We will comply with our commitment, Mr. President. So
Okay.
thank you for that. So, Mr. President, moving forward, I move to resume consideration of Senate Bill number 1156. This
Any,
is yes, Mr. President.
any objection? Hearing none.
This is the Foreign Investments Act. Maybe recognize the sponsor if there are other amendments. Yesterday, we tackled a few amendments. I'm not sure if Senator Ralph would have any amendments for this as well, or should we tackle this
Yep.
also for tomorrow?
Senator Marcos is recognized.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Senator Recto, go ahead.
yes, thank you, Mr. President. Just very briefly, I went through the bill and as mentioned by the sponsor, Other issues have already been deleted in the original committee report. Just a few questions, Mr. President. I don't see anything fatal in the bill, no, but just to put on record a few observations, if I may, and I'll be very quick, Mr. President.
Go ahead.
Yes,
Go ahead.
please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would the distinguished senator from Ilocos Norte just answer a few questions?
Yes, certainly, Mr. President.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished senator from Ilocos, are you familiar with the FIA House Bill?
The House version, you mean?
Yes, the House
Mr.
version, yes.
Pro. Yes, that's right. Yes, it's similar but much shorter.
Yes, in fact, the House version is only 3 pages, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. They simply changed the number of employees from 50 to 15 and
Correct.
retained the 100,000 minimum.
Okay, so that is the only amendment as far as the House is concerned, is that correct?
Yes, that's
It
correct.
is a very simple measure, no? Okay. Now, do we have any records? Remember, here we are amending the Foreign Investment Act. Okay? With the House version, how much investments do we expect to take place? How much in terms of value?
Yes, certainly we are expecting quite a few investments to come in. And as mentioned by our colleague, Senator Villanueva earlier, there's a great deal of interest already in 5 areas from Canada, Japan, and other interested parties.
So, and how much is that based on the amendments of the House?
Based on the amendments of the House, it looks like there's
Is there a
upwards of
target
There's
that
a
we will
target of
be?
5 billion, I think, and that's an informal target of, I forget right now the exact DTI program, but certainly there's quite a bit of interest in electronics, mostly Japanese and Taiwanese, aerospace, US, for example, Collins, copper and copper products, again, Japanese, in automotive, Japanese, Chinese, Korean, IT, in BPM, particularly because of the issues in India. So certainly the matching and FIA will be able to formalize this. Although,
Again,
the request of
if I may,
That's
Mr.
right.
President, just one point here. What is the amendment of the House?
The amendment of the
amendment of
House is a
yes.
reduction of labor minimum from 50 employees to 15.
Okay.
Period.
Period.
However, yes.
Okay. Period. Now, having said that, this amendment will create $5 billion. Is that how I
No.
understood the response of the Senator from Ilocos Norte?
Yes. No, I have to correct myself. You're quite right. I think that's highly optimistic on the part of the DTI. Realistically speaking, we are hoping to put in other amendments in the Senate version, including the Promotions Council that will bring together all the requests and other problems of our investors. It's
Okay.
not enough to simply reduce the
So in fact,
labor requirement.
yes, in fact, there is actually no number, no, of how much this bill will attract in foreign investments as far as the House bill is concerned.
As far as the House is concerned, nothing. There's no clear-cut target. I'm deriving all this information from DTI's programs.
Okay. And in fact, it is DTI's mandate, frankly speaking, to attract investment, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And then this bill was suggested by the Secretary of NEDA, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I believe it's a joint effort between NEDA and the DTI, including the BOI, which is already operating under a simple ad hoc committee of the different IPAs. So they'd like to institutionalize it, and that's what is the significant addition in the Senate version.
Okay, so I have no problem with the House version because essentially wala naman masakit dito. But I doubt it very much if this will attract billions and billions of dollars in investment.
Yes, I agree with you. And certainly, we have heard time and again that the lack in our investment promotion, the lack of aggressiveness, of focus, of ease in doing business needs to be addressed, quite apart from just the minimum labor requirement.
Yes, so
There are issues such as red tape,
yes,
the unpredictability and reliability of the regulatory framework, the issues of the
yes,
lack of competent
yes.
labor, and so on and so forth.
And I would like to laud the efforts of the chairman of the Economic Affairs Committee of the Senate for at least introducing additional amendments to the Foreign Investment Act, which, as we mentioned earlier, as far as the House is concerned, is just one amendment reducing the number of employees from 50 to 15. That's it.
Yes, that's correct. That's
Okay,
it, Paul.
that's it.
We
Okay, now,
weren't convinced that that would bring about great change.
okay, so I doubt it if this will really attract any amount of significance in terms of foreign investment. But nevertheless, it will not create harm. Okay, now having said that, Mr. President, and like I said, at least the chairman of the Economic Affairs Committee in the Senate tried to be more accommodating or try to find a way of increasing more interest of foreign investors to the Philippines. No? One of which is the creation of a council. Is that correct?
That's
Which was a
correct.
major part of the Senate version, no? Okay.
That's correct.
Okay. And this council, just for clarity, for my understanding, no? This who are the members of the council?
Yes, the members, it will be, unlike the FIRB that's under CREATE, it
Yeah.
will be led by the DTI, not the DOF. It will not be involved in any kind of fiscal or non-fiscal incentives. It will
Yes.
instead focus on promotions, on
Investment
international
promotion.
events, and also it will also try to put together all the problems of the different locators. Their problems usually are the differences in, for example, the LGU now, the differences in the health protocols, the requirements for foreign employees, labor, immigration, and other permits, all these red tape that very often are in conflict or are duplications.
Okay. And so for this purpose, we're creating an interagency investment promotion coordinating committee.
Yes, I apologize. It's quite a mouthful, but
Yes.
they wanted to make certain that it does not in any way overlap the FIRB in the CREATE.
Yes. But wouldn't this as well, for example, overlap, let's say, with PESA,
Well,
BOI?
the reason for this, there are actually two bodies. There's PESA and BOI that are the main IPAs, the main investment promotions. But as the Senate Pro Tempore is fully aware, there are 14 IPAs, PESA,
Yes.
BOI, Clark, Subic,
Correct.
APESA, it goes on, right? And
Correct.
for
Correct.
that reason, they're very frequently competing for the same investors. So it's important that they should have some kind of a clearinghouse where all their concerns are sorted out and the best matches are made.
Okay. Um, so wouldn't there be more confusion if we created another investment promotion coordinating committee?
Well, our sense is
Wouldn't
that
it
there
be more
is.
red tape by adding one more?
Yes, this is a very simple coordinating council. What we are actually doing is simply institutionalizing what is already in operation. They already have an ad hoc interagency promotion council
Okay.
for those 14 IPAs. We're just making it, we're just recognizing it and endorsing it as
Okay.
a
Okay.
proper body.
Okay. So we're institutionalizing it. You're saying that, Mr. President, the gentle lady is saying that this is already in existence. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes, that's correct. Because
So
nga
if they're
the
in
napakarami
existence,
ng IPAs natin.
so if they're in existence, I will not object to it. Ang objection ko lang is yung our penchant to create so many coordinating councils.
That's correct.
Huh? And I've not seen how all of this has worked in the past. Okay? Now, eto ba may dagdag gastos?
I think yan ang ambisyon nila na kapag kinilala sila bilang isang council, pinagdadasal nila na at least mabigyan sila ng konting tulong. I, of course, in a good Ilocano fashion, immediately discouraged them from such illusions and told them that, in fact, the BOI will serve as your secretariat and it's unlikely that you'll get in the near future additional budget. But if it's possible, perhaps we can help them along the way.
Okay. My recommendation is that if this is already operational and we're adding one more and may dagdag gastos, you have
Pero naman so far, kasi sinabihan ko na sila, nag-BOI na yung inyong secretariat.
Okay. But isn't it that there is an appropriation in this measure?
I think that right now we have an appropriation that's dependent on the GAA. There's no specific number.
Okay. During the pandemic, considering that our resources are very limited and our deficits have increased, I do have a problem with creating too many government agencies and bureaucracies. Okay? Dapat nga ngayon, nagtitipid tayo ng konti, hindi yung dagdag gastos eh. Okay? Now, if they're in existence, wala akong problema dyan, no? My concern is that you do have IPAs already. You have 14, no? You have the BOI, then you have PESA, and on top of that, we're creating another with, if I'm not mistaken, 10 members.
Yes, there are 14 IPAs. I think they will have to be represented in one way or the other.
Yeah.
And also, it could be a clearinghouse, as I said earlier, for many of their requests. For example, the universal request for much better Wi-Fi and internet infrastructure. So things like that, and then the coalescing of all the health protocols that vary from place to place, from LGU to LGU. And also, I think there is a measure of international promotion that needs to be joint, that we need to sell ourselves and market ourselves as a country and not merely as individual IPAs.
Okay. So what the Senate is doing is really creating an investment promoting council of some sort. Okay. And aside from that, agreeing with the House to reduce employees from 50 to 15, which is the main part of the FIA of the House and of the Executive, di ba?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. I'll keep it at that. I promise to be very brief. Anyway, the other provisions have been taken out already. I just wanted to manifest on the record that by and large, I'm against creating all these coordinating councils, which have not worked in most cases. Dagdag lang sa red tape din siguro. And dagdag gasto sa gobyerno. But I'm willing to support the measure because the senator from Ilocos Norte has said anyway that this is already in existence and it only institutionalizes it. No? Hopefully, hindi lang to dagdag gastos and another bureaucracy na magpapahirap palalo sa foreign investors. Because right now, I think it is pretty clear, no? If you want to manufacture and export to the rest of the world, you go to a PESA or to an IPA. If you want to invest in the domestic economy, then you go to BOI. Both, incidentally, are under the Department of Trade and Industry. Okay? Now, if you create too many councils, baka lalo maguluhan. If you're an exporter, who do you go now? To this council or do you go to PESA? If you will invest in the domestic market, normally, like I said, you go to the BOI. Now, do you go to this body? But at least I agree with the senator also from Ilocos Norte, and that the chairman is the DTI, because that is actually the mandate anyway of the DTI. I'm willing to support the measure because I don't see anything fatal. But I do have a lot of misgivings creating interagency committees. No? So I just wanted to put that on record. And I thank the distinguished sponsor for allowing me to make these manifestations and to put this on record. So thank you very much, Senator Marcos from Ilocos, and to our Senate President. Maraming salamat, Majority Leader.
Yes, thank you very much, Senator Recto. I have the same hesitation about creating councils. I'm very much against it. In principle, however, this was urgently requested by both the IPAs concerned as well as the DTI and the DOF. Perhaps the Senate President pro tempore could support my effort to abolish instead DTI, PTIC, as well DBMPS. Doon na lang tayo magtibag at napakagulo talaga ng dalawang yun.
And I thank the distinguished lady from Ilocos Norte for filing a bill, which in effect, dissolves the PITC?
Yes, both.
I
both.
heard that earlier, so thank you
Yes,
very much.
dissolve the PTIC and dissolve the DBMPS. In honor of Senator Recto and Senator Drilon, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Madam Sponsor.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
I feel I have a stake in both agencies, as they were both created under my father's administration, and I know full well the purposes for which they were established, which are no longer relevant or important today.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. With that, it looks like we have the concurrence of Senator Recto, our Senate President pro tem, to close the period of amendments, Mr. President.
Mr. President,
Unless the chairperson still have amendments.
Mr. President, if I may, on behalf of our minority leader, with the permission of the body and the minority, I'd like to put on record his amendment, Senator Franklin Drilon's, which he submitted to the committee and which we have accepted.
What is this?
Yes,
Mr.
on
President,
page,
you have to read it, Mr. President, for the record.
yes.
Go ahead.
Mr. President, on page 4, lines 14, between the words the and various, to insert the words jurisdiction of. I so move, Mr. President, it shall read as follows, Section 4, scope. This act shall not apply to banking and other financial institutions which are governed and regulated by the General Banking Act and other laws under the supervision of Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas and the practice of professions under the, and this is the addition, jurisdiction of various professional regulatory boards, PRBs.
All right. Any objection? Hearing none, adopted. Any other amendments, Senator Marcos?
I think that that is the last of the individual amendments. The amendments submitted by Senators Gatchalian, Cayetano, Joel Villanueva, and Senator Risa Ontiveros have all been integrated in the substitute bill, sir.
All right. Senator, the minority leader, Senator Drilon, is recognized.
This is on section 16, Mr. President.
Okay.
In substance, it provides that the National Security Council will review foreign investments affecting the national security. If the foreign investment is made by the foreign controlled entity, a state-owned enterprise in geographical locations critical to the national security and critical to the national interest as defined by the National Security Council and the National Board. My concern, Mr. President, is the phrase security, national security concerns in the recent past has acquired a very broad meaning. So that every aspect of the governance or investment can always be rationalized as involving a national security issue. Uh, may I find out? With the views of the good sponsor of this, is he is she? Can we propose subject to style that the review by the National Security Council be removed? Of, uh, the reality is that if it involves a national security concern, the NEDA and or the National Security Council can always call the attention of the how do you call this? The agency granting the license for the foreign entity. That's my submission, Mr. President.
Yes, the minority leader is asking if we can delete merely the phrase with security concerns. Is that correct, sir?
Well, in effect, not only in effect, the referral to the National Security Council.
If I may, the original submission of this provision, I personally objected to, because as we are aware, everything is subject to review.
Yes.
If national security is involved. So that is very clear. However, I was reminded by many of our agencies that in fact they've had such trouble reviewing the NGCP contract, which as we know, does not necessarily fall under public utilities or public services, and yet impacts so greatly on the life of the nation. The same is anticipated with Senator Gatchalian's bill regarding the midstream LNG, which promises to grow into an enormous industry and may, in fact, once again, impact huge numbers of Filipinos. I think the spirited debate on the inclusion of telecoms and the access to the internet is another area where a case can be made that they're not public utilities or services, may fall through the cracks once again, and a review becomes more difficult. I think this is the reason this provision was urgently requested by our national agencies. However, I would be very open to language from the minority leader.
Would the sponsor mind if I can have a 30-minute just for 30 minutes to think out how we can amend this? I was thinking, yeah, if can we just suspend considerations and come back, Mr. President, within the next 15 to 30 minutes?
Yes, Mr. President, absolutely.
Majority Leader.
Yes, Mr. President, absolutely. I move to suspend to allow our dear minority floor leader to come up with the amendment.
Any objection? Hearing
Mr.
none.
President, Mr. President,
Senator
May we
Gordon
recognize Senator Gordon?
is
yes, Mr.
recognized.
President, I join Senator Dillon, and I must admit I've been remiss here because I've not been able to follow because of the super busy schedule that we've been having to go through all these blue ribbon hearings. I have some reservations on Section 5, Mr. President, and I'd like to study that, and I need more time, if you don't mind. Are we going to go through with this the whole day today, or can we do it tomorrow?
Tomorrow, we can take it up tomorrow, Mr. President.
I would
If,
appreciate
the
it
good
very much.
gentleman, yeah, no problem, Mr. President, we can suspend till tomorrow, no problem.
Thank you. Thank you very
All right,
much.
that will not, that will give Senator Dillon more time.
That's correct.
That's correct, Mr. President.
All right.
If I may,
Yes, Senator Marcos.
yes, if I may confess to the minority leader, in reality, we've been going back and forth about Section 16, and with the help of Senator Risa Ontiveros, we came up with this, but I would prefer that some untoward act incite a review. But they actually recommended that there should be an automatic annual review. So perhaps your thoughts on that would be very, very helpful in the redrafting of this provision. Thank you. I'm
Okay.
happy to
Right.
Thank you.
postpone till tomorrow to hear the other queries of our colleagues, Majority Leader, Mr. President.
Okay. Yes, Mr. President, we concur and we suspend the consideration of the measure till tomorrow.
All right. Any objection? Hearing none, consideration of the measure suspended.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, we have another measure here, Senate Bill number 2077, which is basically the Philippine Boxing and Combat Sports Commission. I know before we had the long ECQ break.
Oh, pag-aralan natin to ha. Ano ba sinasabi nito?
Oh, sorry, sir. Your microphone is on, Mr. Senator Gordon. Okay, so before we went on a long ECQ break and the distinguished gentleman from Sarangani had gone to train in the United States for his fight, we had tackled this measure and we sort of had a discussion on a particular compromise, particularly on the creation of an agency under GAB, Mr. President. And I know Senator Gatchalian had a very good proposal, Mr. President. So I move to resume consideration of the measure, and maybe we can ask Senator Gatchalian to reiterate his proposal that was crafted under his technical working group, Mr. President. So I move that we take in consideration Senate Bill number 2077.
Any objection? Hearing none, consideration is in order.
May we recognize Senator Gatchalian, because I know Senator Pia also has a number of amendments that I spoke to her today that she's just readying also to include, but she's waiting for the proposal of Senator Gatchalian if it's acceptable to Senator Pacquiao.
Mr. President, what I know is Senator Gatchalian's is not amendment, it's just a suggestion, Mr. President.
Okay, so there's no proposal. I thought they met, Mr. President, with a technical working group. May we confirm with Senator Gatchalian? Because we just need to know from the sponsor if he's amenable to that, to the suggestion. Because if not, I'll also lab this tomorrow in our caucus. Because there's a strong objection from one of our colleagues. So may we know from Senator Gatchalian if that had progressed, Mr. President?
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Majority Floor. Well, Majority Floor, just before the long break, we had a small huddle on the floor. I was still on the floor with Senator Pia and Senator Joel. And we came up with a suggestion to Senator Manny Pacquiao on a possible setup to accommodate the different comments from our colleagues. And that setup is very simple, Mr. President. It will create a subcommission under the GAB so that subcommission will specialize in boxing. However, in terms of governance, it will still be under the GAB, the Games and Amusement Board. This was put forward to Senator Pacquiao for his decision. And I believe a few days ago, I believe last Saturday, there was a technical working group called by Senator Manny, and they invited the different offices to participate in that technical working group. However, it will boil down to the decision of our world champion on whether that setup is acceptable to him and whether that setup is what he has envisioned for the Boxing Commission. So that is the latest, Majority Floor and Mr. President.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. So to know how we will move forward, what will be the comment of the sponsor, Mr. President? May we ask the comment of the sponsor?
Senator Manny Pacquiao.
Mr. President, I think I'm agree with the proposal of, we appreciate the suggestions of Senator Gatchalian, but since this is an amendment by substitution and there are no individual amendments, and considering the sufficient time given, move to, I think, Mr. President, I move to close the period of amendments, Mr. President.
Okay, Mr. President, before we act on that, there is still a request by Senator Pia Cayetano on that amendment. So if I may, I'll just table this measure, Mr. President. It will be part of our discussion tomorrow in the caucus. So that we can finally put this to rest, if you put it to a vote or not, Mr. President. Therefore, I move to suspend till tomorrow, so we can take this for discussion in the caucus as well.
No problem, Mr. President.
Thank you.
All right, the Senator Pacquiao came up with the motion, but the motion to suspend has a higher priority. So if there is no objection, the consideration is suspended.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you to our dear colleague, and we promise to take it up also first thing tomorrow in the caucus. So thank you, Mr. President. Moving forward, I move that we resume consideration of Senate Bill number 2239. So, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, consideration is in order.
Okay, ito.
May we ask if Senator Bongo is ready online
35,
for interpellations with Senator Recto?
Commissioner Salvi directly.
The sponsor, Senator Ralph Recto, is recognized. May we ask Senator Pacquiao to mute his microphone?
Sorry. May I ask for a 1-minute suspension, Mr. President, since we have not had a minute break for liquidity issues.
All right, while we're calling for Senator Bongo, the session is suspended for 1 Senate minute.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you
John
very much,
Toledo.
Mr. President. I believe, did we already resume, no, we have not yet resumed consideration. No? So, Mr. President, for the bills on interpellation, this is Senate Bill number 2239 and Senate Bill number 2376. We will just bump this off for tomorrow, Mr. President, because
All right.
the bill of Senator Recto, Senator Go, and Senator Villanueva promised to interpolate tomorrow.
Okay.
So we can
So-
move it to tomorrow, Mr. President. So
So
therefore,
recorded, yeah.
just a few housekeeping measures now, Mr. President. We have a very short reference of business. I move to proceed with the reference of business.
The Secretary will proceed with the additional reference of business.
Additional reference of business. Messages from the House of Representatives. Letter from the Secretary General of the House of Representatives informing the Senate that on September 6, 2021, it passed the following House bills in which it requests the concurrence of the Senate. House number 8927, an act penalizing the smuggling of foreign currency and other monetary instruments in bulk into or out of the Philippines.
Referred to the Committee on Banks.
House number 9561, an act establishing the Philippine Health Security Council and appropriating funds therefore.
Referred to the Committees on Health and Finance.
House number 9925, an act providing monetary compensation to qualified claimants through the Task Force Bangon Marawi for the loss or destruction of residential and commercial properties as a result of the 2017 armed conflict between the Armed Forces of the Philippines and terrorist groups in Marawi City, Lanao del Sur, and appropriating funds therefore.
To the Committees on Finance, the Senate Special Committee on Marawi City Rehabilitation.
House number 9943, an act prohibiting the practice of child marriage and imposing penalties for violations thereof.
To the Committee on Rules.
And House number 10007, entitled An Act Augmenting the Retirement, Death, and Survivorship Benefits of the Solicitor General, Assistant Solicitors General, Senior State Solicitors, and State Solicitors of the Office of the Solicitor General and appropriating funds therefore.
To the Committees on Civil Service and Justice and Finance.
A letter from the Secretary General of the House of Representatives informing the Senate that on September 6, 2021, it designated Representatives Romualdez, Daza, Vergara, Acosta Alba, and Saulog as conferees to the Bicameral Conference Committee on the dissenting provisions of House number 8998, entitled An Act Establishing the Policy, Rules, and Procedures for Domestic Adoption and Appropriating Funds therefore, repealing for the purpose Republic Act number 8552, otherwise known as the Domestic Adoption Act of 1998, and Senate number 1933, an act establishing the rules and policies on the domestic administrative adoption proceeding of Filipino and for other purposes.
To the Committee on Rules.
Letter from the Secretary General of the House of Representatives informing the Senate that on September 6, 2021, it designated Representatives Marino, Sarmiento, Salo, Biazon, and Daggook as conferees to the Bicameral Conference Committee on the disagreeing provisions of House number 9030, entitled An Act Establishing the Philippine Transportation Safety Board, defining its powers and functions and appropriating funds therefore, and Senate number 1077, entitled An Act Creating a National Transportation Safety Board, prescribing its powers and functions and appropriating funds therefore.
To the Committee on Rules. Joe Toledo.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, just designation to the Senate panels on the Bicameral Conference Committee. With the permission of the body, Mr. President, I move that we proceed with the Senate President's designation of the Senate conferees to the Bicameral Conference Committee on the disagreeing provisions of Senate Bill number 1077 and House Bill number 9030. This is the National Transportation Safety Board.
The following members are hereby designated as Senate conferees to the Bicameral Conference Committee on the disagreeing provisions of Senate Bill 1077, House Bill 9030. Senator Grace Poe as chairperson, and members Senators Revilla, Angara, Binay, and Pangilinan.
Thank you, Mr. President. And also, we'd like to, with the permission of the body, move that we proceed with the Senate President's designation of the Senate conferees to the Bicameral Conference Committee on the disagreeing provisions of Senate Bill number 1373 and House Bill number 9943. This is prohibiting and declaring child marriage as illegal. So moved.
Following members hereby designated as conferees for Senate Bill 1373 and House Bill 9943. Senator Risa Ontiveros as chairperson, and members Senators Marcos, Binay, Pimentel III, and Gatchalian.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. That's it for today. Just a reminder to our dear colleagues that tomorrow we have a caucus after we do the roll call and discuss important measures, as well as reminding our colleagues the bills that they're supposed to interpolate and amend as well. We only have about 3 weeks left, Mr. President, 3 weeks left of work. So, Mr. President, with that, I move to adjourn session until 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Wednesday, September 8, 2021. So moved.
Any objection? There being none, the session is adjourned until 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Wednesday, September 8, 2021.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Majo.